The morning shattered into existence with a jolt, like a crack splitting my dreams apart. A razor-thin beam of sunlight stabbed through the curtains, slicing across my face and yanking me from sleep. My heart slammed against my ribs, breath catching as I blinked into the glare. For a disorienting second, I didn't know where I was, until I felt him. Nick. His body pressed warm and solid against mine, his arm slung possessively over my waist, anchoring me to the bed. The shock of the light faded, but a different kind of electricity surged through me. Sharp and dangerous, as I realized how close we were. How close we'd been all night. I lay still, afraid to move, afraid to breathe too loudly. His steady exhales brushed the back of my neck, each one a reminder of last night's reckless edge. The ride to the lookout, the way his hands had lingered on my hips as he steadied me off the bike, the heat in his gaze under the star-streaked sky. It had felt like standing on a cliff, toes curling over the drop. We teetered there, lips brushing, pulses racing, before pulling back, retreating to the safety of this bed. But safety? That was a lie. There was nothing safe about the way my skin hummed where it touched his, or the thoughts crowding my mind, each one more forbidden than the last. Was he awake? I tilted my head, just enough to glimpse his face. Eyes closed, lips slightly parted, he looked softer in sleep, almost innocent. But I knew better. I'd seen the way he looked at me last night, like he was fighting the same battle I was. Wanting, resisting, wanting again. My stomach twisted, a mix of thrill and dread. What was I doing, lying here, tempting fate? He was my half-brother, a line I'd never imagined crossing. Yet every time I tried to pull away, something in me rebelled, whispering to stay, to push, to see how far this could go. I shifted, testing the waters, my movement deliberate. His arm tightened reflexively, pulling me closer, and my breath hitched. Was that on purpose? I froze, heart pounding, waiting for a sign, a flutter of lashes, a smirk. Nothing. Just the steady rise and fall of his chest. I bit my lip, torn between slipping out and leaning into this dangerous game. Before I could decide, his voice broke the silence, low and rough. Morning. My pulse spiked, heat flooding my face. Morning, I managed, my voice barely a whisper. I turned to face him, and there it was. That look, warm, teasing, like he'd caught me plotting something and liked it. I swallowed, my mouth suddenly dry. You're kinda cute when you sleep, I said, tossing the words out like a dare, hoping they'd mask the chaos inside me. Am not, he shot back, his mock frown sending a shiver through me. God, he was good at this. Turning my teasing into a dance where every step felt like a risk. His hand brushed mine, fingers grazing my skin just enough to make my nerves sing. I stretched, arching my back, knowing my t-shirt would lift, exposing a sliver of skin. I didn't look at him, but I felt his gaze, heavy, deliberate, like a weight pinning me in place. My heart raced, a wild mix of power and panic. What was I doing, playing with fire like this? I'm gonna make breakfast, I said, forcing a casual tone as I sat up, covering a yawn. Want some? My voice sounded steadier than I felt, but inside I was unraveling, every second in his presence winding me tighter. Always, he replied, his grin slow and predatory, like he saw right through my act. My cheeks burned, and I leaned in for a kiss. A quick one, I told myself, just to keep control. But his lips moved against mine, warm and unhurried, and suddenly I was lost. My hands fisting in his shirt as heat surged through me. It wasn't just a kiss, it was a challenge, a question, a promise. When we parted, I was breathless, my thoughts a tangle of want and fear. I'll shower and be down, he said, his voice rougher now, his eyes locked on mine like he was daring me to stay. I nodded, unable to speak, and slipped out of bed, my legs unsteady. At the door, I glanced back, throwing him a smile I hoped looked playful, not desperate, and fled before I could do something stupid, like beg him to follow me. The hallway was too quiet, the kind of silence that felt like it was hiding something. My bare feet patted on the wood, each step echoing in my ears as I tried to calm my racing heart. I paused at the top of the stairs, pressing a hand to my chest. Get it together, Emily. Breakfast? Normal. But the house didn't feel normal. It felt alive, watchful, like it knew the secrets I was carrying and was waiting to spill them. In the kitchen, I threw myself into routine, grabbing eggs, bacon, bread, hoping the clatter of pans would drown out my thoughts. But they kept circling back to Nick. The way he'd held me last night, like he didn't want to let go. The way he'd looked at me this morning, like he was torn between restraint and surrender. Did he feel this pull too? This dangerous current dragging us closer? Or was I the only one spiraling, reading too much into every glance, every touch, A creak from upstairs stopped me cold, the spatula frozen in my hand. My breath caught, eyes darting to the ceiling. Nick was in the shower, wasn't he? So what was that? Footsteps? My pulse hammered, a sudden chill prickling my skin. Erica's bold laugh flashed in my mind. She'd been circling Nick lately, her glances sharp and knowing. Or maybe Mel, always poking at boundaries with her sly grins. The thought of either of them up there, near him, sent a stab of something I didn't want to name. Jealousy, maybe, or fear that I wasn't enough to hold his attention. I shook it off, cracking an egg with more force than necessary. Focus, Emily! But the house wouldn't let me. Another sound. A soft thud, like a door easing shut. My head snapped up, my grip tightening on the spatula. Was someone sneaking around, watching us? I strained to listen, the sizzle of bacon fading into the background. Nothing, just silence, thick and heavy, like it was daring me to go look. I didn't move, my feet rooted to the floor, every nerve screaming that something was coming. Something I wasn't ready for. Minutes dragged by, the kitchen filling with the smell of breakfast, but the tension didn't ease. I kept glancing at the stairs, half expecting Nick to appear, half dreading someone else. What if Erica had slipped into his room? What if Mel was up there, teasing him the way she teased everyone, pushing buttons just to see what broke? My stomach twisted, a mix of possessiveness and doubt. Nick and I hadn't defined this, whatever it was. A flirtation? A mistake? A step towards something neither of us could take back? I wanted to trust him, trust us, but the uncertainty gnawed at me, sharp and relentless. The back door slid open, and I jumped, nearly dropping the spatula. Nick stepped in, hair damp, t-shirt clinging to his shoulders. His smile was easy, but there was an edge to it, like he knew something I didn't. Just in time, I said, forcing a grin, my voice shakier than I wanted. He moved closer, his arm brushing mine as he reached for a plate, and the air between us crackled, charged with everything we hadn't said. Smells amazing, he said, but his eyes were on me, not the food, and my knees weakened under the weight of that look. I wanted to tease him, to lean in and see how far I could push, but that creak replayed in my mind, a warning that we weren't alone. Someone else was out there, listening, waiting, and I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever happened next would pull us all into the storm.